Hey y'all. So you see the title. Have you ever felt undervalued and unappreciated at work? I don't know if you're this type of person, but I'm the type of person that I give 110% on my own. I don't need to be micromanaged, and I don't need for to be the person that everybody comes to when work needs to be done. So if you have checked out TikTok, let me see if I can get to this. So there is a creator who does TikToks about work situations, right? Her name is Jessica with a K. So let me see if I can find her. So I want to refer you to her channel. But hold on one second. Let me see. I may not be able to find her. Let me do search Jessica. She's really good. See if I can get her channel and I'll refer you to that. Oh, I'm so sick of these social medias with the pass key and the pin number. They get on my last nerve. Okay. So let me see if I can find Jessica. Mm-mm-mm-mm. She's a Hispanic lady, and she always says, when she's giving a solution and she's communicating, she says, "Does that make sense?" She's hilarious. A couple of people um, copied her channel and made it into like a cartoon, but she was saying that that's not her. Okay, so let me see. Okay, I can't find it that way. Let me see. Work situations. Let me see. Hold on. How handles work situations. Okay. Okay, so maybe she took it. Maybe she's now doing the animations. Because I don't see her as her regular self. I just see the animations, okay? So maybe that is Jessica now. No, that's not Jessica. Oh well, so I'm just gonna give you this one. Um, okay, hold on. So this one says, let me try to, I want to pause her just in case you guys can't hear me. Hold on. Come on, work with me. So this one is boss denies legit sick leave. Jessica fights back with proof. Okay, and so this is under at jack.animations. Okay, let me see if I can get the full. Hold on. Jack Animations. Okay. This is so crazy. I wish I could find Jessica, but work life. Let me just do work life issues. If you search for like work life issues, you'll be able to find it that way. I really don't want to give somebody else's promotion when they're stealing somebody else's content, but I find it very resourceful and very helpful. Okay, so let's get into what this video is about, okay? So, this scenario is you're a self starter, you don't need to be micromanaged, you give 110% every day, at work and you have three managers, but there's one who always asks you to do something extra. And you will do it, but you want to be left alone, okay? Because you really don't want to do it. So, in that scenario, what do you do? Do you guard your space by communicating with your supervisor, or do you just fly off the handle and be unprofessional? Especially because you feel like this one person is really pushing you. They're really pushing you, right? So this message says, hold on one second, let me see. I want to see if I can get this here over here so you guys know. Okay. She says, I give 110% when I work. When supervisors ask me for more, I get incredibly angry and I usually quit the job. I hate it when they ask me for more work. What does this say about me and my mental health, if anything? So that's the question. Okay, so it's completely understandable why the situation would spark such a strong reaction. You know, when you are already operating at 110%, being asked for more isn't just a request for labor. It can feel like a fundamental dismissal of the massive effort you've already put in. Okay. So the feeling of your output being invisible or undervalued is incredibly draining. And I think you're being undervalued. I think that they see somebody who is given 110% and they want to use you. They want to use you up, honey, burn you out, because they need the work. They see that you're doing the work at 110%, and they really want to take advantage of a good thing. It's just like buying a pack of 6 cupcakes and you can't just eat one. You want to go for all of it because it's so good. The problem is you don't want to feed the greed of the supervisor. So when you have a greedy supervisor like that, you don't bring the sweet stuff to the table when it's them. You want to stick to an onion bagel. You don't give the sweet stuff, the 110% for that supervisor. That is not what you want to give them, because they are greedy and they really want all of your quality top tier work, and you just have to restrict them because they will not restrict themselves. Okay, so here's a breakdown of what might be happening from a behavioral and psychological perspective. Okay, the all or nothing cycle. Giving 110% right out of the gate is often a sign of high integrity and a strong work ethic. These are good things. However, it also sets a dangerous precedent. So there's something called the baseline trap. If you start at maximum capacity, supervisors begin to see that as your normal. So when they ask you for more, they don't realize they're asking you to push past a breaking point because you've already used up your reserves, okay? A lot of times they're doing it on purpose. They do realize that you're giving a high output of work compared to the rest of the team. But like I said, they can be greedy because the more you do, the less everybody else has to do, right? So I'm going to say that they do realize it. Unless they are a brand new manager out of college, and if your company is hiring somebody with no managerial experience in a managerial position and a young age, so they have no experience whatsoever, you're going to have to manage up. or you're going to have to update your resume and look for another role. Okay? So, yeah, that's what I think. So, the next item is the resentment gap. So, let's look into the resentment gap. Because you know you're giving everything, any request for more feels like an insult. And I don't blame you. I know it's negative. It's got to be a really negative feeling to work for somebody who is either cruel or clueless. Uh, that can be infuriating. It's not a good feeling. Whatever feeling that you feel in that situation is negative. It's negative, and that's not good. Um, so the anger that you may feel, or whatever negative feeling you have, is often a protective mechanism. Is your mind saying, I have nothing left to give. I've given you everything, and you have the temerity to ask for more. How dare you? Okay? Or you may feel that they don't see how they are being unfair to you. You take it personal because it is personal. Um, the next place that we want to go is looking at burnout and flight response, right? Because you said that you feel like you want to quit, right? Because you don't want to be in this situation and you're already feeling negative and this person is already pushing you and she catch you on the wrong day, it's going to go down. So we want to prevent that, okay? So in psychology, the fight or flight response is usually triggered by a perceived threat, right? Again, negativity. In a professional setting, a supervisor's demand can feel like a threat to your well being or your sense of worth. Another situation that might come up with this is dealing with your husband or your spouse, your in laws, and your children, and even your own family. You know, if you've ever seen the movie Soul Food, there is three sisters. And the one sister, Terry, who is an attorney, everybody comes to her for money, and nobody else is giving money. She's got this person who owes her money, that person who owes her money. She has sacrificed her personal teenage years and stuff like that to go to school and make good grades, pass the bar, do all of these things that the rest of the family hasn't done. Her other sisters have not had to do the same thing that she did, right? But when it comes to money, they're always coming to Terry because yes, Terry has it, but she has did the work to be able to have it. And if you've seen the movie, you know what happens. Terry blows up. She blows up, because she feels like she's being taken advantage. She's been pushed too far. That fight or flight, she's been under persistent threat in her own mind, and she gets to a point where this whole thing and it does cause a rift within the family. There's no more Sunday dinners, all of these things. So you don't want to do that, whether it's personal or professional. You do not want to snap at work, and you do not want to snap in a personal scenario because you've been pushed too far. You resent it. You have all these negative feelings. Okay, so what do you do? Let me go back. In psychology, the fight or flight response is usually triggered by a perceived threat. In a professional setting, a supervisor's demand can feel like a threat to your well being or your sense of self worth. Okay, chronic burnout. Let's go there. If you consistently work at 110%, you may be in a state of functional burnout, When you're running on empty, even a small additional task can feel like the last straw, leading to an explosive flight response or quitting the job. Like, you know what? I've done it. You know what jobs do that? Nurses. Nurses are the ones because they're working 3 12-hour shifts. They're on their feet most of the time. They've got to deal with biohazards, emergencies, emotions from fellow staff to patients to family of the patients, doctors. It's a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of times by that third day and the 11th hour, they have had it up to here. And normally, if there isn't a head nurse that can see the break coming and prevent it by getting in the way, taking something off of that nurse's plate or helping out, take a extra 10 minute, I'll cover the nurse's station, that nurse will quit. They will quit because you just want relief. You have given everything that you've got. You're operating on fumes, and then there's one extra thing, and that's it. And that'll cause you to quit. You don't want to do that, okay? So let's look at emotional regulation, okay? Take a deep breath. Take in that good, what did he say? Good as prana, baby. You know what I'm talking about? If you know what I'm talking about, put it down in the comments below, okay? But let's just take a breath, okay? Emotional regulation. Getting incredibly angry suggests that the workplace trigger is hitting a deeper nerve, okay? This could be related to a need for external validation or a history of feeling exploited. Normally, people who give 110% have felt that they've been exploited because these other people who are not giving 110%, that is not who people go to get more from. They always go to the person who is giving 110%. It's a wacky world. It's a wacky world. I don't know why managers do that. I really think that it's because they need to be retrained themselves. They just get to a point where it's just the bottom line. There's work that needs to be done. They keep going to the person who produces a good product and good quality work and a lot of work, and so they lean on that person. It's not fair, it's not professional, it's not right, but that's what they do. Even in families, as I gave the example with Terry from Soul Food, it's not right, but that is what they do. Okay? So it's up to you to manage up, to train them, to not lose your cool, to take your own temperature when you know that you're getting close to your breaking point. And the other thing is dial it down. Instead of giving 110% on everything and right out the gate, pace yourself, okay? Pace yourself. Okay. Is this a mental health issue? Okay. While only a licensed professional can provide you a diagnosis, these patterns often correlate with a few specific areas. Okay, you ready? Hyper-perfectionism, a drive to be beyond reproach, can lead to exhaustion and a low tolerance for perceived criticism or unreasonable demands. So, if you're a firstborn child, firstborn girl, you always try to be perfect because you have to set the example for younger siblings. If you are the middle child and you are competing for attention, so you try to be perfect in every way to get validation from your parents or from your teachers. You are very competitive in class, and you develop this hyper perfectionism that you that is spilled over now into your professional life. So that can lead to exhaustion, and when you're exhausted, um, you tend not to respond well to people pushing, which takes us to the next point, which is boundary management. Okay? Go ahead and breathe with me. Come on, we're going to get through this, okay? Boundary management. You might find it difficult to set incremental boundaries, like saying, I can't take that on right now. Or, like Jessica would say, well, how much am I going to be paid above my salary to do this extra task, right? Normally, when Jessica says, I'm going to invoice you for this extra work because I shouldn't be answering my phone after 5 when you pay me from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you think that you can contact me on my cell phone after 5 p.m., which cuts into my family time, you're going to have to pay me for that. And I have a minimum of 2 hours. That even if it takes 15 minutes, you're going to pay me for 2 hours. Normally, the supervisor backs down after that, right? At least in her scenarios. Meanwhile, in our situation, you can say, I can't take that on right now. And you're going to say that to kind of let them know to move on to the next person to ask, to cover that or do that or whatever it is. And you can do that. And again, take a break, take a breath, right? To reground yourself, okay? And you set the boundaries, these incremental small boundaries, because you're not waiting until you've gotten all the way where you've given your 110% and you have nothing left to give. You're going to pace yourself doing less, so that if something extra is asked of you, you can do that without blowing a gasket, okay? Now, they're going to keep trying you, right? And so you can monitor it until the pressure builds up so much that the only boundary left is to leave the environment entirely, which I have known people to do that. I'm taking PTO for the rest of the day. Today is right before the weekend, so I'm only working until noon. Or it's hump day, it's Wednesday, I'm only coming into the office for 2 hours on hump day. And that's a way, depending on what your pay grade is, you're able to do those type of things, right? It's going to help a great deal. Moving forward, if you want to break this cycle, which I know you do, you might consider these shifts in strategy. Number 1, the 80% rule. Try working at 80% of your total capacity instead of 110%, okay? This leaves you with a 20% buffer for those inevitable busy periods, preventing the feeling of being pushed over the edge. Now, I know, or I think, you are giving 110% because you don't want the supervisor to say nothing to you. You want to be able to work independently, doing a great job, quality work, and go home. That's what you want. This is fine that you want that, but we have to deal with reality. Your team, as well as your supervisor, is going to want to interact with you. Okay? Even if you had your own business, there's a couple of businesses that you can do where you don't have to interact with people. And if you want to look into those, then we can do that. Okay? Just let me know in the comments, okay? Let me know. Send me a message, okay? All right. But meanwhile, while you think about it, let's go on to another strategy, okay? It's called the yes and communication. When you're asked for more, practice saying, I am currently at capacity with this project. I can take this on, but which of my current tasks should I deprioritize and make room for it? Okay, so if you've got deadlines and you're working on four things, you need to know which thing you should be working on first. As an example, when I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, I had one partner to take care of, and I had three directors, one attorney, and one alumni. So the alumni was an accountant who had retired from PricewaterhouseCoopers, but he would come into the office every day, and sometimes he would ask me for help with different things. Okay. When it came to priorities, the partner was number one. That was the top guy. My second top guy was my lawyer. Then it was the three directors, and lastly, the alumnus. Okay. He was the lowest man on the totem pole when it came to my team and who I helped, whose work was most important. Okay. The what I love to do with the partner, his work generated money, revenue. When it came to our directors, they were operational and administrative. Okay. That's where, so they were a cost. They didn't bring in money, they cost us money. And then with our lawyer was there for compliance and to make sure that we were doing business in a legally sound manner, that we never let things slip through the cracks, and that we were keeping up with our contractual obligations. Okay. And then the alumni was just there for him to something to do. um, Sometimes he would come into the office 3 days a week. Sometimes he would come in all five. Some days he would not come in because he'd be playing golf or going somewhere with his wife or doing some other type of activity. Okay. And he did not generate income, and he did not cost us anything. It was just a kind of like a benefit for those who retired from the company, that we gave them office space and they're not home alone getting on their wives' nerves or whatever. It helped them as far as their well-being, right? So that's the way um, that I see this yes and communication. When you're asked for more to do, you get them amongst themselves. Now with me, because of my pay grade, I was able to prioritize, and that's the way I prioritize. To me, the main thing was the money maker goes number one. The administrative and operational, their tasks or work or help that they needed for me to do was secondary. Oh, no, was in third place. The lawyer was number two, and the alumni was, like I said, uh, if I can help them, good. If I can't, it's no biggie. All right. So you want to look at that. If you are not in a position to be able to decide whose work is the priority, then you talk to your top guy, or you meet with your supervisor and have them put their heads together, and then they tell you. That way, if something gets missed or whatever, it doesn't fall back on you. It's a way for you to CYA, cover your own fanny. Okay. um, Let them make the choice. Let's go for the third one: professional support. So, because you want to know, are you looking at this correctly, or is it just you having, a nervous breakdown? You can get an unbiased third person's response, because I am not an occupational therapist. Okay. I would say do not take this to HR HR is there for the company, they are not for you, okay? You want to get professional support by speaking with an actual therapist who specializes in occupational burnout or and emotional regulation. They can help you figure out why more triggers, why this asking you to do more when you've already given all you got triggers you with such intense anger. You know, it could be that you think that your boss is intelligent and they're not. It's the CEO's cousin who just got this position and they don't know what the hell they're doing. It could be that they're completely incompetent. Um, that could be what the issue is. But an occupational therapist will help you get a handle on the situation. Okay? It's obviously clear that you take immense pride in your work. Okay? That's a good thing. The goal is to find a way to honor that dedication without letting it cost you your peace of mind or your career stability. Okay? And as Jessica would say, does that make sense? Let me know. Now it is heavy and exhausting to look back and see a trail of people and organizations that took your 110% and gave you nothing but empty promises and returns. You don't get the promotion, you don't get the kudos, you don't get the Starbucks gift card, you don't get all the other little niceties that supervisors do for their staff who are really pulling a lot of weight and giving a lot to their team. Um, and I'm sorry that that's happened to you. Okay? There are supervisors and managers who do, just like you, go above and beyond the call of duty. They make sure that their team feels appreciated, valued, and even like on days that they can take the team out for, it's called team building exercises, where they take the whole team out for pizza or they order in. We used to do that a lot. Order food in and sit at the conference room and talk and maybe put on a webinar or whatever. It took the pressure off the team, right? And they did not have to go and find some respite on their own. We even had people who would come in and do massages in the conference room, you know, do pedicures. And it was called a team building exercise. We even had a line item in the budget for that type of stuff. Okay? Um, I'm not sure what company that you're with, but I can tell you companies like PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, Deloitte and Touche, Ernst and Young, Google. These companies do nice things like that. Okay? Okay. Do some research because you may need to leave this company behind if the culture there is to grind you and take advantage of their best employees to run you away. Some companies do run like that. It's sad to say, but that's what works for them. Okay? So, that feeling that you're feeling, that negative feeling, it creates a specific kind of soul weariness. And it's completely natural that your brain is fantasizing about the opposite of the extreme, which is being lazy or just riding the clock. You know, since you doing a whole bunch of work isn't appreciated, well, let me flip it and do the opposite and see if that will get my supervisor out of my face, which is what you want, right? It isn't a sign that you've lost your integrity. However, what it is a rebellion against a system or a supervisor that hasn't treated you with the same dignity that you've given it. And you will hear a million people say, the people that you work with are not your friends. The company is not there for you. The HR is not there for you. They don't care nothing about you. If you drop dead, which it has happened, if you drop dead working at the office or at home from a heart attack or whatever because you're not taking care of your health, you're not taking care, having time to go and work out and do all the things that give you a quality of life, and you drop dead, they will replace you like that and at a lower salary. So you have to take care of yourself, okay? So stop giving them all that you've got, okay? So then you don't have to rebel against their inhumanity in the office, you know? In the same way with family, friends, you know, this can be applied in just about every scenario where you feel like you're being exploited, you're being taken advantage of. You have to be the one to set that boundary and not allow it, okay? The anger that you're feeling, the negativity that you're feeling, is actually a protective tool. It's your internal compass finally shouting that the math doesn't add up. When you give 110% and get lied to or gaslit, your mind looks for a way to balance those scales. Wishing that you were lazy is your mind's way of trying to find a version of safety where you can't be exploited, okay? Because you aren't offering anything up to be taken. So they can't take advantage of you if you're only giving 70%, 50%, just like the rest of the team. So if they ask you to do something extra, it's no biggie because you weren't given 100% anyway. So you have plenty in reserves, you know. They come and look for you at your desk and you're over at the mall. They come over looking for you. Have you seen this person or whatever? I need to find out where they are on their project because I need X, Y, and Z. And you done left the whole building. You over at your kid's school at a field day or whatever, you know, this time of the year. And I got to tell you, there are plenty of situations that I've heard about people being at work and on a certain days of the week, I'm not going to say which one, but most of the people are not in the office. They are at the Space Needle, they're down at the waterfront, they're at the movies, they're over at the convention center because the anime is in town or Comic-Con is happening, but they're still on the clock. And the supervisor says nothing because they expect that. They expect that. They still need the work done, and you're the only one at the desk. So guess who gets the extra work? You do. Pay attention. Pay attention to what the rest of the team is doing. Pay attention to what the culture is in your office. Don't come in there doing 110% when everybody else on the team is doing 20%. Do not make 100 outgoing phone calls when the rest of the team is only required to do 20. Okay? Okay. So, the excellence, you don't want to hate yourself for being in this situation, for allowing this to happen. You have recognized that it is happening. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the strategies, okay? You remember what they are? What's strategy number 1? What's strategy number 2? What's strategy number 3? And on top of all of that, we're going to do what? We're going to read ourselves. We're going to scan ourselves and see how we feel. If you see yourself doing 110%, you're going to dial it back. You're going to dial it back. You've got to get out of that habit of giving 110%. And how many days of repetition does it take in order to break that habit? 21 days. 21 days, so less than a month. You're going to start beginning the next Monday, the next first beginning of your work week, you are going to start breaking that habit of giving 110%. Give people, like the golden rule is treat others like you want to be treated. That's not working here. Treat others the way they want to be treated. They don't want you to give 110%. If they did, they would not be trying to get more out of you. They would be trying to get the rest of the team up to your level, and they're not doing that. And you know why? Because they don't want that. Okay? Give the people what they want. Okay? So when you have a history of being used, 110% effort that you mentioned and that we're talking about, it can inadvertently act as a magnet for the wrong kind of supervisors, honey. It is some predators out there. Sharks. They're looking for blood in the water, and you bleeding all over the sales floor. So they come right to you. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. The sooner you accept that, the better off you'll be. You'll start making these modifications. You're going to do less. Of course, you're going to feel bad about it. Whew. Take a breath. Leave your desk. Leave your desk, okay? If you're working in the restaurant industry, I'm just giving that up because FIFA is coming, right? You're going to pay attention what other people are doing, okay? You don't need to compete. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You've passed the background check. You've passed all the other, you jumped through all the hoops that you've needed to jump through. You're at work, you're on time, you're clean, you're personable. You don't have to do a whole bunch of extra. You don't have to do a whole bunch of extra. Stop doing that. 21 days. If you have to write a Post-it note for yourself in code that reminds you to breathe, that reminds you to do less. It could just be a big old minus sign. Do less. Remind yourself at certain intervals to check out and see what is the team doing. Okay? I saw this one video where there's a bank of desks and there's 4 or 5 employees, and there's one employee that's looking at that clock, and they get down on your mark, get set. As soon as it hits 5 o'clock, they're out of there. And the supervisor comes in as the rest of the staff is getting their stuff or whatever. They notice that she, got out of there at exactly 5 o'clock. They were taking their time, and the supervisor came through with extra work. So the next day, baby girl checked her watch. Everybody got ready. So as soon as 5 o'clock hit, the whole team was out the door. So then the supervisor came in and was like, oh snap, everybody's gone. That is what you need to keep in mind. You're going to look for different strategies like that. You're going to look for what everybody else is doing. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Okay? When in Rome, breathe and do as the Romans do. Okay? All right. If you're going to a new environment, or you don't want to completely retire your 110%, okay? When is the proper time to use 110%? Okay. In an emergency, short spurts, 110%, okay? Planes hit the Twin Towers on 9/11. That's when you pull out your 110% on that day. Your office building catches on fire. You have to invoke the emergency protocol. Where you need to exit the building, don't use the escalators. Everybody in the office, who is in the office, who's not in the office, where is the location that your team is supposed to meet, so that you can do a head count and make sure everybody's out of the building, and then wait to hear the all clear before you return back to the building. Those situations is when you want to use your 110%. But other than that, if it is not an emergency, it is a regular work day, you're going to pay attention what is happening in your in your team, and you're going to match that energy. Match that energy. Okay? Okay. Now realize you are clearly of immense value and depth. Okay? If you feel that you still want to do more, there's lots of volunteer opportunities in the community. Figure out some things that you can do that will not cause you stress, but will add to your community. Go for it. Go for it. And again, it's going to give you a well rounded life, quality of life. If you have kids, you don't need no volunteer work. If you have a spouse, you don't need no volunteer work. Taking care of your in-laws, that's enough until you have the empty nest syndrome. Then you can start looking at some other things that you can do. But as long as you're a parent with kids and stuff, there's always PTA stuff. There's always field trips. There's always extra homework, special projects. I know for me, I was in the PTA. I also did laundry for the flagettes to wash their gloves. There was always concerts to go to, games to go to, special performances at the school where they needed the musicians to be there. Track practice, there's cleats to buy, there's practice to go to every day. There's constantly things for you to do as a family when you and your spouse are raising kids. Is the more extracurricular activities that your kids are doing, there's extra work for you to do. Okay. So giving the 20 or 30% at the office or whatever to meet their energy, it's okay to do that because you have lots of outside things that are going to require your energy. A lot of parents are being chaperones at the prom. They were chaperones for spring break. They're doing the carpool for themselves. You know, you share the carpool where you all are picking up each other's kids and taking them to different things and sleepovers and camp, and it's a lot. It's a lot. If you don't have any kids, then you're going to want to look at things that are age appropriate that you can do. If you want to help your community, do that. We're going into midterms. You can do all types of things from a municipal point of view, locally, be a precinct committee officer. They always need extra people on committees and boards in your city, your county, state level, and the federal level. Okay? There's lots for you to do. And like I said, I know you don't want to be bothered. I know that you do 110% because you don't want to be bothered. You're going to have to change that. You're going to have to change that because our situation is more communal than it ever was before. Back in the day, if you were just making widgets, you focused on just making widgets. You had your break and your lunch, and that was time that you talked to people. But when that whistle blew, everybody was out of there. There was no boss asking you to stay later to make more widgets, okay? So you're going to have to be a little flexible, okay? That's all. So finally, we're going to just wrap it up. For someone with your integrity, success has always meant outperforming everyone else, okay? Moving forward, try defining success as sustainability. A successful day isn't one where you did the work of 3 people. It's one where you did your job well, stayed professional, and left with enough energy to enjoy your own life in your own home, your own family, your own um, outside interests, right? Um, Today, depending on where you are, a lot of pastors' anniversaries are tonight, 7 o'clock. So you want to do your work and still have enough energy to go and celebrate your pastor tonight or this weekend or whatever. Okay, as an example. Okay, so you spent years being the engine for other people's goals. It hasn't worked out for you. So we're going to change that. We're going to change that. So you've got a strategy, okay? You're going to remind yourself to breathe. You're going to have a physical reminder on your desk that says minus sign. I'm going to do less than the 110% I've been doing, okay? And if you need further reinforcement, get yourself an occupational therapist, okay? Talk to your mentor, which your mentor should have already told you going into this. But old habits die hard. You're going to want to implement the less is more for 21 days to break that habit of doing 110%. But you're going to keep that 110% on reserve in case of emergencies, okay? We are in the midst of a war. We do have the hantavirus cases here locally, here in the United States. You're going to keep your eye on all of these things because if you need to pull out that 110% card, you're going to pull that out. But like I said, only if you need to. Other than that, you're going to breathe. You're going to do less is more. You're going to pay attention to your team. You're going to have enough energy to do all of the extracurricular things that you want to do. And you're going to be super nice to the kiddos. You're going to be super sweet to the husband. Make him a little sandwich and a beer when he's out there checking the tire pressure on your tires and detailing your car. Okay. You're going to take time for yourself to do your extra moisturize and have a bubble bath. All the things. All the things, okay? And I hope that helps. Okay. Thank you for your question. And I thought that it was these are very valid points and that a lot of people are dealing with as they're trying to keep stability with their job and not fall into the crevice that so many other people are falling into. But the main thing is you want to take care of your health and your well-being. You want to preserve your mental health. You want to make sure that you are not the person on the news that they're saying was working and dropped dead on the sales floor or in the workplace, and the managers told your coworkers to keep working, to work around your body. You don't want to be the lady who sat at her desk and was dead in the office building for days over the weekend because no one ever checked on her, no one ever talked to her. She's given all that she's got in the office. She obviously wasn't feeling well and she went to work anyway and passed away. Then her body was there and nobody found her. No supervisor checked on her, no coworkers checked on her, nobody. Okay? You do not want that to be your story. Okay? So if you have any other questions or if there's any other comments, let me know. And yeah, I will talk to you later. Okay. Thank you again for your questions. I appreciate it. It's a good reminder for us all, to remember to breathe, remember to take care of ourselves, to recalibrate. And if we're kind of getting out of line with ourselves, doing too much, stop it. Go and enjoy your life. Work is not your life, okay? Okay. I will talk to y'all later. Thank you again, and you can hit me up anytime. Okay? Talk to y'all later. Bye.